Hello everyone, my name is Lucy. Today I'm making cassava stuffed with pork, or what is called in Puerto Rico, Mofongo de Yuca. For this recipe I'm using 5.5 pounds or 2.4 kilograms of cassava or yuca. I cut them in small cubes and then I'm going to fry them in about 4 cups of vegetable oil until they are tender inside. I'm also using 5.12 pounds or 2.6 kilograms of pork, which I cut in small bite pieces. Then I marinate it overnight with salt, pepper, olive oil, and vinegar. I also cut in rings 2 large onions. And I'm using mushrooms, but the mushrooms are completely optional. You can use as little or as much you want. 4 cups or 948 milliliters of chicken broth, 1 pound package or 475 grams of bacon, and I'm going to fry them until they are crispy. We need salt, and we can use table salt or we can use kosher salt, ground black pepper, and 2 tablespoons of corn starch. One package of pork rinds, and these rinds can be the regular kind or the crispy kind, whichever you prefer. And again, you can use as much or as little you want. And I almost forgot to mention 6 mashed garlic cloves. This is the cassava root or yuca. It's white inside, and we just cut them in small chunks so it's easier to remove the skin. It's really important that when we peel the yuca, the skin is removed completely, that you don't leave any pieces behind. So we cut them in chunks like 4 inches long, cut across the skin, and peel it off. The skin contains 2 layers. Make sure you remove both layers. It looks like a tree bark. Using my wok in high temperature, I'm going to fry the meat until it's golden brown and completely cooked. I'm not adding any grease whatsoever. And almost simultaneously, in about 4 cups of vegetable oil, high to medium temperature, I'm going to fry the cassava until they are tender inside and crispy outside. When the oil gets really hot, you can lower the temperature to medium to avoid the cassava to overcook. To avoid lumps later on, I'm mixing the cornstarch with the chicken broth. In high temperature on the stove, in a skillet, I'm going to fry the bacon until it's completely brown and crispy. Then I'm going to remove and drain the excess oil and let it cool. Once I remove the bacon from the oil, I'm going to save half of the fat from the bacon and put it aside for later use. And then the other half, I'm going to be using it to saute the onion. Use medium temperature to saute the onion. Once it becomes brown and sweet, then we add the garlic. Once the onion and the garlic is mixed together, then I start adding the mushrooms and the chicken broth, which already has the cornstarch. I'm going to let it boil and it's going to start forming a gravy-like consistency. Once the mixture has formed a gravy, then I'm going to turn off the stove and divide the mixture in two. I'm going to set aside about 2 cups of the gravy for when I'm serving the mofongo. I'm going to put it in a cup and set it aside. Then the other half I'm going to add it to the meat. Mix well the half of the gravy with the meat and set aside until we have to use it to form the mofongo. I'm adding this gravy to the meat once the meat was completely done. Once the bacon is cool, it becomes crispy and then we can shred it. Set it aside for later use. I'm also shredding the chicharrones or pork rinds and setting aside for later use for when I'm mixing the mofongo. And you can leave it as thick or as thin as you like. And I'm going to mash the cassava as much as I can. When the cassava is completely cooked inside, it should not take you too long to do this process. And you can leave big chunks in it if you want. First, I'm adding the grease that I reserved from the bacon. This will help with the dryness. One thing about mofongo is that sometimes it feels dry when you're eating it. And sometimes it's even hard to swallow it because it's so dry. So the bacon grease will help with that. Then I'm mixing in the bacon bits, and some of the chicharrones or pork rinds. Mix everything well together and you can add the ingredients as much or as little as you like. Now it's time to put together the mofongos. So I'm putting a portion of the mixture inside the bowl and then I'm pressing against the edges, leaving a hole inside the bowl. Leave enough space in the center of the bowl to accommodate the meat. Now we're going to fill the center of the bowl with a portion of meat. Be generous with the amount of meat you're putting in the center. Pour some of the gravy that we reserve over the meat. And now we have completed this dish and it's ready to be served. Buen provecho, and I hope you like this recipe. If you like this video, don't forget to click like and subscribe to my channel to see more recipes such as this one. I hope to see you soon. Thanks for watching.